Welcome, everyone. Now we're going to look at the great sage Patanjali for the last time regarding his great works, the Yoga Sutras, ascribed to him, the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, or the Patanjali Yoga Sutras. Patanjali was a tremendously huge genius. He was a very mighty teacher, mighty scholar, mighty researcher. He studied the yoga in detail, he practiced the yoga likewise, and then he gave words to us to help us to understand what yoga is. Patanjali wrote out the sutras, the Yoga Sutras, what is called the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. He wrote out the Yoga Sutras. He described the yoga, the practice, in detail, and he really gave us a thorough understanding of what yoga is. So that now, I'll give you an example with myself. 2,200 or 2,300 ago, between 2,000 and 2,500 years. Okay, 2,000 to 2,500 years. Patanjali lived about maybe 200 years ago or so. And the work is dated to about that time. Now, after his life, I'm not just stretching my body and twisting my body or breathing, but I have a thorough understanding of what I'm doing. The body and the soul, the existence of the body and the soul, and the purpose of life. What are we doing here? Why do we do yoga? What is pain? What is suffering? What is stress? Stress management. Why are we managing pain? Why are we managing suffering? Why are we managing stress? What are we doing? What is the opportunity of life for? This is an opportunity, but what are we doing? Why do we do yoga? What is this time interval? What is this time for? See, life is an opportunity. Why did God, the Creator, give us this opportunity? So although we are flesh, but we are spiritual beings. We are gods, although we are man. So the reason why we are here is to study. The reason why we are here is to study and gain an understanding of this transformation that has to take place in the life of every. So people don't bother you to studying the transformation that has to take place in the life of everybody. Okay? We have to undergo the transformation process. We are already undergoing the transformation process. So we are body and soul. There is a shift in existence from body to soul, from flesh to spirit. We have to be able to manage this process. We have to be able to manage this procedure. We have to be able to manage this event, this happening of life, from a gradual transformation of material to the non-material. This is what the process, what is going on. So people think that when the material ends, they are dead. So they are. That's what they believe. But when you study and you gain an understanding, you now discover, there's more to it than just our material selves. We have material and spiritual. Existence is in two parts. Body and soul, material and spiritual. You now begin to use your material existence to gain understanding of the spiritual realm as you proceed into that realm. So this is where Patanjali is a mighty, mighty, mighty champion. He describes to us the discipline of yoga, the training of yoga, the discipline of yoga, and how we practice it and how you use it to control yourself in the process of life. You manage yourself as you proceed, self-management, as we proceed to our higher being, our divine being, our supreme being, our perfect being, which is realized at the end of the journey. So this is a brilliant thing. I'm going to read to you part 4. Of course, they are in 4 parts. Part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4, like I always liken it to college. Freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, then you graduate. So Patanjali arranged these. There were 4 parts. Part 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're reading part 4 right now. I'm going to read you part 4. The first verse, psychic energies and potentials. Okay? verse 1 of part 4. Psychic energies and potentials spring from birth, special plans, mantras, modifications, and meditation or concentration. I take it again. Psychic energies and potentials spring from birth, special plans, mantras, modifications, and meditation or concentration. Second verse. Changes or transformations across conditions and classifications of being is by the powered movement of creative appearance. Creative appearance. 3. Creative appearance is not set in motion by auxiliary causes, but by clearing blockages and hindrances. Just like the diligent farmer rids his farmland of rocks to enable irrigation. 4. Created manifold consciousness springs from egoism and egoism alone. 5. Though these manifold individual and unique minds engage in diverse, innumerable actions and deeds, one supreme mind is the creator of each and every mind. 6. Among these, the consciousness born of meditation is desireless, free from all craving, liberated from stored karma. 7. The desires of a yogi, in other words, the karma of a yogi, are neither white nor black, neither good nor bad, but regarding all other being, desires are threefold. Desires are threefold: white, black, and blended, or simply good, bad, and mixed. 8. From these follow the appearance, which certainly amount to the fruition of karma. Karma always follows desires, each and every desire. Due to the attractive attributes and characteristics of memory, ideas, and appearances of the mind, there is a strong, consistent relationship between cause and effect. Despite the possibility of change again and again in physical appearance by birth, time, and space. 10. The craving to exist and continue to exist is infinite and boundless, and the manifold patterns of reasoning leading to distinguishing personalities and characteristics are ageless and timeless. I like highlighting those verses. I want you to highlight ageless and timeless. They are powerful because you are ageless and timeless when you come to the understanding, when you practice and become enlightened. The craving to exist and continue to exist is infinite and boundless, and the manifold patterns of reasoning leading to distinguishing personalities and characteristics are ageless and timeless. 11. Assembled, connected, bound together by cause and effect, vital basics, and various entities. When these things vanish, everything vanishes, nothing remains. 12. There is past and there's future in any entity, basically, due to the obvious contrast or dissimilarity on the courses of their appearance. 13. Manifested otherwise, these appearances consist of gunas, in other words, strands. In Sanskrit, guna is a Sanskrit term for strands. Energetic forces that interact quite closely to form the world and all existence therein. That's the meaning of gunas, just expounded on. I take it again for clarity. Manifested otherwise, these appearances consist of gunas. In other words, strands in Sanskrit, energetic forces that interact quite closely to form the world and all existence therein. From the unity in changes arises the unity in everything. 15. That was 14 we just read. From the unity in changes arises the unity in everything. 15. And though the external material entity is the same, craving changes and discernment changes according to changing minds. 16. No one entity depends directly on a single mind for its being. Otherwise, if the mind failed to cognize it, what then? Would it be inexistent? 17. Objects appear to the mind or disappear from the mind depending on the degree of radiance or hue which they transmit to the mind. Objects appear to the mind or disappear from the mind depending on the degree of radiance or hue which they transmit to the mind. 18. Appearing mind states may always be known, as the master of the mind is always the same, forever as is. 19. Mind, unique and existing as an entity, is not self-luminous. Mind, unique and existing as an entity, is not self-luminous. 20. For the mind simply cannot perceive or know two or more things simultaneously. The mind simply cannot perceive or know two or more things simultaneously. 21. If we assume another perceiving mind, we would end up with manifold boundless assumptions and confusion of memories. If we assume another perceiving mind, we will end up with manifold boundless assumptions and confusion of memories. 22. Awareness becomes visible to the mind itself as intelligence and understanding when in the shape in which it is unchangeable. I take that again for clarity. Awareness becomes visible to the mind itself as intelligence and understanding when in that shape in which it is unchangeable. 23. Colored by the observer and the observed, the mind is able to grasp all things. Colored by the observer and the observed, the mind is able to grasp all things. 24. The mind, through its boundless craving, acts not for itself, but for another, being of complex appearance. The mind, through its boundless craving, acts not for itself, but for another, being of complex appearance. 25. There is no more confounding of mind and self for the enlightened. There is no more confounding of mind and self for the enlightened. 26. And now the mind, ever aspiring for enlightenment, gravitates onward toward absolute freedom. And now the mind, ever aspiring for enlightenment, gravitates onward toward absolute freedom. 27. Distractions occur due to disruptive thought streams when training is irregular. In other words, when practice is inconsistent. Today I do yoga, tomorrow I don't, next tomorrow I don't, the other I just forgot, and then 5 days from now I try again, and then you don't exercise for 3 weeks and then you come. That's not how to do it. You have to be consistent. I take this again. Distractions occur due to disruptive thought streams and when training is irregular. When training is irregular. In other words, when practice is inconsistent. When your practice is not consistent, you are not practicing at all. No benefit. 28. The extirpation of the disruptive thought streams is akin to that of pain and suffering earlier expounded. 29. To the yogi who remains fully focused, fully concentrated, without interest even in omniscience, there comes the perfect enlightenment known as divine cloud, the cloud of goodness, the cloud of holiness. This is the upshot of clear understanding. 30. And now follows the ultimate liberation. Absolute freedom from cause and effect. Highlight cause and effect. And freedom. Absolute freedom from cause and effect. absolute freedom from pain and suffering. You can highlight that whole verse if you want to be critical. It's very important. I'll take it again. And now follows the ultimate liberation. Absolute freedom from cause and effect. Absolute freedom from pain and suffering. 31. Now knowledge becoming overwhelming and boundless, stripped of concealment and all imperfection, the yet unknown becomes dwarfed, diminished. It's very little left unknown. Become almost practically omniscient, even here on earth. Now knowledge becoming overwhelming and boundless, stripped of concealment and all imperfection, the yet unknown becomes dwarfed, diminished. 32. Then follows the termination of successive changes in the qualities and characteristics of all interacting forces and all things. For the goal of their existence has been achieved. 33. Successive metamorphosis happens every second, but is observable only at the termination of a series. Finally, 34. Ultimately, when the qualities of characteristics terminate metamorphotic relations with consciousness, they proceed into dormancy basically, like hashed eggshells, and the divine personality, which arises like sunshine and shines like sunshine, reigning forever as pure awareness, dwelling always in infinite freedom, boundless and absolute. I'll take that again. Ultimately, what happens at the end of your practice, you've been consistent, you've been regular, doing your yoga, your exercises consistently, developing, reading the sutras, meditating on what they've said, and gaining understanding like Patanjali did 2,000 to 2,500 years back. If you worked on this thing seriously, go to your inner room, you lock your room, you concentrate, you practice, you do your yoga, you read a little bit, you gain a good understanding of what you are doing. You know the relationship between body and soul. You're able to relate with your own soul and gain a thorough understanding of what you are doing, like I have done and I am doing. Then, ultimately, what happens? That's what the last verse tells you. It just summarizes everything, the whole four parts in one verse. When the qualities and characteristics terminate metamorphotic relations with consciousness, they proceed into dormancy basically, like hashed eggshells. The eggshells crack, break away, and the little chick walks out. And the divine personality within arises like sunrise, the way the sun rises out of the horizon, and shines like sunshine. What happens in the day? See the sun coming out of the horizon, the chick coming out of the egg. The eggshell has split, broken to pieces, and then the chick comes out of the eggshell of the egg. See, the shell, shatters and the chick comes out. A living chick comes out. And that's what happens to us at the end of this material journey. So the hatching of the eggshell precedes the chick coming out into its own glory, coming out as a living being. It cannot come out except the shell scatters. So when the shell breaks to pieces, the egg breaks to pieces, then the chick comes out. That's what it's telling you. And shines like sunshine, reigning forever as pure awareness, dwelling always in infinite freedom, boundless and absolute. All your limitations are gone, because all the limitations of our divine existence is this body that we have. This body is like a prison. It just imprisons the divine and brings it down to imperfection. So this body is like a prison. That's why it is bondage. It does not allow the spirit to be free. The spirit is sort of trapped in the system. So at the end of the day, when this bondage, this prison, this flesh breaks to pieces, it scatters away like the egg, the shell breaks open, then now our souls are liberated. See, the spirit comes out. All you are just doing is studying, doesn't change anything. You are just studying to gain an understanding of what happens. It's like learning what happens when a car drives. How does a car drive? You go to school, they teach you automobile engineering, mechanical engineering. Now you know how the car drives because you've been taught. That's what Patanjali is doing. It's like a professor is teaching you how these things happen. Computer engineering, they teach you how it works. So that's what he's describing. When at the end of the day, the shell breaks, the chicken comes out, and the chicken is now free. So at the end of this journey, we are happy. We are getting out of this material, these useless material shells that have imprisoned the spirit for a long time. And your soul is able to rise and shine and soars forever, free, no more attachments, no more desires, no more restraints, no more argument, no more bondage, nothing to limit it anymore. It goes into limitless existence, into boundless, infinite existence. Ultimately, when the qualities and characteristics terminate metamorphotic relations with consciousness, they proceed into dormancy, basically, like hashed eggshells, and the divine personality within arises like sunrise and shines like sunshine, reigning forever as pure awareness, dwelling always in infinite freedom, boundless and absolute. Our Godhead is finally realized. So, fellows, this is the Patanjali Yoga Sutras. It's very interesting. I have never read anything in my life that is as brilliant as that verse I just read. That verse I just read is the most brilliant literature I have read on the surface of this earth for more than 50 years of my life. The last verse of the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali is the most brilliant thing I have read in my life. I mean, you can't beat it. There are other verses. I'm coming to read Confucius later. Confucius has a solid one that he said somewhere. I'm coming to work on that. But this concluding verse of Patanjali just summarizes the whole business of what this transit, this life is, the journey of life, what is going on in a nutshell, this egg, and how it's, breaks open and releases the beautiful chick. And the chick just walks away from the egg. But all the while it's been there, it's been just imprisoned in an egg. And it's uncomfortable, it's right there. And it's wet. And finally, when the egg dries up and, breaks open, the chicken is now free to roam everywhere it wants to roam. So this is the reality of life. This life is, it needs the discipline, your ability to discipline yourself and concentrate and study. This is the secret. Patanjali had that, Confucius had that, many great scholars had that. If you don't discipline yourself seriously and bring yourself to concentration, pure concentration, so you can study, penetrate, and get a thorough, serious understanding, then you go into the 8 billion fools out there, and then you get lost. Unfortunately, you go into an unfortunate, it's a cloud of confusion. It's like a marketplace where idiots and fools are just talking nonsense and they argue, they know nothing. So all they are supposed to be human beings, but they end up like swines and pigs and dogs and rats because no points are being made. So you have to study. You have to be serious. Where is the truth? Bring it. Let's look at it. Deadly serious. You have to look, this is the truth. Get an understanding thoroughly. No two people, one person. Lock yourself. All the great teachers said so. Jesus Christ did it. He didn't go with Peter. Jesus Christ went alone every day into the Garden of Olives. Not even Peter went with him. The Bible is very clear. Sermon on the Mount. When Jesus Christ was tempted by Satan alone. No two. You just go. You must have. In fact, towards the end of the ministry of Christ, just to show you the seriousness of this truth. When Jesus went with Peter, James, and John, he says, stop there, guys. Jesus still went straight by himself in to go and consult the Father. Is this a one-man business? When you understand, you become deadly serious about what you've understood. It's a one single man business. Jesus Christ did not carry Peter into the inner chamber. Read your Bible clearly. He said, Peter, James, John, stop here. I'm going in to consult with the Father. Jesus went alone in. Then when he came out, he met them sleeping. Peter, are you guys sleeping? You see that? They were sleeping. So Jesus Christ could not have carried these guys along with him. Everybody be dead sleeping. Why Judas Iscariot had been taken by Satan? So when Jesus was trying to gain an understanding and protect the rest of his disciples alone, when you gain enlightenment and you understand life, you go alone. I want to consult my spirit about this. My best friend is not coming with me. Jesus went alone. Buddha meditated alone for 6 years. The people that were meditating with the Buddha, they abandoned him. They said, look, he doesn't fast. What nonsense? What kind of teacher is this? He doesn't fast. They abandoned the Buddha. The Buddha ignored them and went on. When he became enlightened, they became his first students. The Buddha were practicing asceticism. The Buddha said there's no point of fasting. It doesn't help. It's starvation. It's self-torture. It's not going to help you to gain any kind of enlightenment. That fasting has no spiritual advantage to it. Because the Buddha practiced the fasting more than them. So he almost died. Then when he almost died, he discovered, boy, we better not starve ourselves. If you starve yourself, you have to understand the biology of life. We have to be scientific beings. The Buddha is realistic. Why should I starve myself for what? You starve yourself, you die. Human beings, we are biology. It's like a motor car. Jeez, if you turn off the electricity, the lights go off, my friend. They're not going to be half on. Lights are powered by electricity. You remove the engine of the car, it does not drive. Simple. If you, the human being on this planet, you do not eat, you will die. It's a sentence to death. It's no spirituality. You'll probably go to hell after that. Clear. I'm very clear about it. Christianity, they practice fasting in the season of Lent. Islam, they have Ramadan. I don't fast at all. No point. See, the Buddha is scientific. It's pointless. What spiritual discipline are you getting? Take the batteries out of the torchlight, the light goes out. Take the plug out of the wall, the television is out. Simple. A human being, you do not eat, you will die. It's as simple as all. There's no eating is you must. That's the energy you must put in the system. You can say, okay, I'm going to eat a little bit. You can talk about abstinence. Say, okay, I'm just going to take a little bit, a spoon or two. Fine. Science. That's why we have science. You must. 1 + 1 is not 1.5. 1 + 1 is 2. It cannot be 1.5. The Buddha stopped fasting. And then the ascetic friends he had, they divorced him. They said, geez, our master doesn't, he's not practicing what we learned. We were all fasting. We have to discipline, we have to torture ourselves to get light. Buddha said, that's exactly what you don't have to do. You must not torture yourselves to get light. You have to be intelligent to get light. You have to practice intelligently. You have to study to get light. You don't put a gun on your head and shoot it to get light. If you shoot a gun on your head, you die. If you put a knife on your throat and press it, you perish. So you have to understand the difference. Do not torture yourself. Do not torment yourself. You will not gain enlightenment. You will perish if you torment yourself. This was the point Buddha made to the followers. I am not fasting anymore with you because that is self-torture. There is no spiritual enlightenment to gain from fasting. The Buddha made a rule, in fact. No spiritual enlightenment to gain. You starve yourself of food when you need food to survive, to live the next second and breathe. Be a normal, you eat. If you want to survive on this earth, you don't eat, you die. It has nothing to do with spirituality at all. It's a necessity of surviving. If you're trying to contemplate life, you try to gain enlightenment, you must put all the batteries, assemble all the engines of the vehicle first. Every living human being must sustain his life by eating and drinking. Clear. No spirituality involved. Absolute necessity to breathe and survive. Then when you breathe in as a living human being, you can now become you can now begin to delve research into scriptures and find out how you can gain an enlightenment. understand what is going on and be able to get away from pain, from suffering, and become liberated and free. So I'll leave it to you guys at that point. You do the deliberation on the rest of it. Cheers. Have a pleasant day.